Buenos Dias, Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba. Like a motherfucking smack addict, right? And as you can tell by today's thumbnail, the wrong fool to fuck with, right? We're talking about Nikko Jenkins, right? And for those of you that don't know who Nikko Jenkins is, well, this is indubitably the rundown, right? This is his story, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, this guy right here is not the man to be played with. This individual right here is a true psychopath. He's different. This vato is different, and menudo está in a direct fashion. I'm going to get into the story because that's what I do. I do what I does. And at the same time, you need to understand that someone the caliber of Nikko Jenkins, it's hard for me to delve into his mindset. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what he's thinking or what he's thinking is relevant to what's going on. But at the same time, I will tell you that this vato story is crazy. It's sad. It's funny. It's tragic. It's real, right? So with all that realness going on, man, let me put it out there. Nikko Jenkins. As you can tell by that thumbnail, just looking at his face, something's wrong. Something's horribly wrong, right? To what degree of wrong, we don't know, but we do know that something ain't normal, something ain't right. Okay, now getting tattoos on the face nowadays, that's normal. The normality in that is an everyday thing. People get tacas all over their face. I've went into that in several spills about just having ice cream cones and flashes and calling themselves lightning. That's fine, you know? But at the same time, can't even no one understand what the vato has on his face. And of course, he's disfigured his face with razor blades and all this. And the mindset of that is craziness. Okay, some ain't right. There's two screws loose. Not just one. So let's get two, right? There's two screws loose, and that's real nifty. But at the same time, what was going through this guy's mind? Was it all a game? Was he fucking putting one on just to fucking claim that he was insane and make people think something that really wasn't going on? Or was this vato really out there? My opinion doesn't matter at the end of the day, only to me. But I say he's fucking nuts, right? But this is just a story, and I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to let you guys go ahead and figure it out, man. You can leave your comments, of course. Hit that like button if you choose to, and we'll get down with it. So Nikko Jenkins is from Omaha, Nebraska, and he comes from a family of felons, right? In fact, 38 members of his family have been incarcerated on felonies. Now, that's a lot, vato. So I had like 2 or 3 vatos in my familia that did some tiempo in prison, and we thought we were somebody, right? But 38 members, including his mother, his father, his sisters, his brother, oh my. All his family were incarcerated in prison. Felonies, vato, not misdemeanors. So not parking tickets, but we're talking about killing people, assaultive behavior, robberies. This is what the household he came from. This is the extended family he came from. You know, out there in the middle of nowhere in Omaha, Nebraska, you would think that the wiggleization ain't as real as it really is. But let me tell you, man, there's hitters and real motherfuckers everywhere, and people that just can't get their shit together, and people that are leading that life of crime. Now, he comes from one of those families. He comes from a dangerous family, right? And they were known on the streets to be dangerous. You didn't fuck with this family, man, and you didn't want them to fuck with you. And that was pretty much it. But Nikko Jenkins never had that chance to prosper because at the age of 7 years old, he already started on that wrong track. So it goes, he was born in 1986, would make him 34, 35 years old at this point in time. And where he sits right now, nobody wants to sit. And we're going to get to all that. But at 7 years old, this man went to elementary school. He was still a young boy, and he did his first crime by taking a gun to school. Now, so I remember my first crime was vandalism, right? And I thought I was somebody. You know, I spray painted and ooh-wee. You know what I mean? Oh, boy. I thought I was the bad motherfucker, but this guy took a gun to school. Now, I never condoned that, man. You never put kids in harm's way. And he was a kid himself. But doing that, he was probably just trying to show off, let everyone know. But for a 7-year-old to be able to get his hands on a firearm, to even take to school is crazy. Think about it. 7 years old. I don't know when my daughter was 7 years old, she was just happy playing with Barbies, right? But this motherfucker was already having firearms and taking them to school. So at 7 years old, he takes him to school. Immediately that alerts everyone around him, the administration, basically the teachers, principals, something ain't right in this household. So they go to investigate, and they come to find out, okay, the familia's not all there. You know, it's best if we beep in it and don't get up in it. And at the end of the day, let that familia do what they're doing. So of course he overcomes that. And about at the age of 15, he gets caught on his first real case, which is basically a robbery carjacking, for which he gets sentenced to 21 years as a juvenile. Okay, 21 years he sits in jail. He actually doesn't do the whole 21. He does 10 to 11. And of course, that's the way it works out. You usually get out with half time or good time. But the whole time there is when his life changes. You would think being away from the family, being away from the crime, being away from that influence, things would change, but things just got worse. They progressed, you know. Was it his mind state? This Vato claims all kinds of, I got schizophrenia, I don't even know. You know what I mean? He claims all this shit, but at the end of the day, something wasn't right because he just gravitated towards getting into a lot of fights, beating people up. Now, he was a big boy. Nikko Jenkins wasn't no small, little, young, skinny-ass punk. This motherfucker was a big boy with hands of steel, was putting hands on several people, and was brutally putting hands on them. Wasn't just beating them up, little black eye here, little tooth gone there, little nifty tooth over there. No, this Vato was actually maiming people and smashing them. Okay, so after catching more time on top of the 21 he's got, he ends up doing 10 to 11 years, and he gets out. Now, this is where it gets real tragic. Upon his release, you know, well, he gets married. Spencer, let me take it back. He ends up getting married with the hyena while he's in there and manipulates this chick into getting his name blasted all over her neck. I mean, she didn't just get it right here where she could powder shade it later and put the next man's name. No, this hyena got Nikko all the way across her neck, and she was truly a dedicated believer to his cause, which started to get weird. He started to worship a god named Apek or Apophis, which is an Egyptian god. Okay, now to each their own. When it comes to religion, I don't really talk that shit right here on this channel because we can get into a great debate. Whatever that man wants to do, he has the freedoms and liberties to do whatever it is that he wanted to do. But at the same time, come on now, what I do? When was the last time you seen a fucking Egyptian in Nebraska, right? But this guy chose to go that route, and he said that these people, this God was actually talking to him, and that he would savagely, brutally maim anyone for this God that he believed in. Okay? So he gets out. And within 10 days of his release, now I know, I'm going to speak from fucking experience here. When you get out, you're happy. But the first thing you want to do, me, you know, I'm not speaking for anyone, I'm saying me, smoke a frajo, double up, you know what I mean? Get your little issue on. And of course, eat good in the hood, man, and just relax. See some familia, meet some hyenas, do your thing. You're fresh out, man. You're not trying to go back. You're not even trying to think about jail or prison or nothing of that nature. You're trying to enjoy the fruits of life, you know? That's not what this man was on. This man got out and his wiggle was going to be real. Within 10 days, he went on what is called a killing spree, for which four people's lives came up short. 3 men and a woman. Okay? But he didn't participate in this alone. Oh no, allegedly, his sister, his cousin, his mother, his uncle, oh my, they were all involved. Like I said, man, this family stuck together like birds of a feather, man. They flocked in a real way. There was a whole gaggle of gangsters, right? And they were doing their thing. So he actually had one of his cousins and his sister, who's a fucking psychopath herself, lure this one guy out, or these two guys actually, Spencer La Tira, out to a fucking parking lot where he savagely shot both of them. Okay? Now, of course, it could have been a robbery turned bad. But in his own words, in his own confession, he needed to do this. He needed to show sacrificial. He needed to sacrifice these guys to his Egyptian god that he believed in. There was voices in his head telling him to do this. So he actually, under the guise of robbery, used his sister and his cousin to do this. Now, of course, his cousin ends up flipping and on the sister and him, and that's a different story, but we'll tell that a little bit later because it ingrains itself into this. Now, another guy who was actually a friend of his, who he actually posed in a Facebook picture with the night before, he actually takes him out to a field and blows his head off as well. Okay, again, another sacrifice. All these victims were found with their pockets inside out and were savagely and brutally shot. Now, of course, it looks like robbery, or wasn't intended to look like that. You know, he says that robbery was not intended, that it was a sacrifice. But of course, from the outside looking in, we're going to see it how we see it. Now, his last victim was a woman. Her name was Andrea, and she was shot and left in the middle of the street with her car down the street. It looked like the inside of her car was burnt, you know, where they tried to get rid of evidence. Again, his family was implicated in this, for which his mother came in and was seen buying the gasoline and giving him the gasoline to do this, right? Allegedly. So with these 4 murders over his head, this is where it takes a different twist. You know, he wasn't just caught. Of course, they started doing their proper investigation, and his family being well known in the city of Omaha, Nebraska, they were already looked at as potential threats, as potential suspects in this case. He ends up getting caught up on a domestic violence with his old lady, the one with Nikko all blasted on her neck, which she calls the cops on him, and she explains to the cops that he might be a suspect in several things that were going on, and they start to question him. Now, they've already gathered their evidence, and this man didn't even deny it. This man gave an 8-hour confession, a trippy-ass confession, man. It's hard to find, but if you can Google Nikko Jenkins and find that confession, you'll trip out. But he actually gives a confession for which he's speaking in tongues, having outbursts, crying, laughing, giggling. The vato's a trip, right? But he gives the full story on why he did this. Okay? Of course, he claims schizophrenia. He claims bipolar. He claims all these different things. Now, there's been a lot of people in history that do this. And the reason, most likely the reason behind it is to try to wiggle out of incarceration. You get put in a mental hospital after 2 years. Okay, yeah, the wind's blowing. I'm good. Bang, bang. You're back out there to kill another day or to live another day. That's up to you, man. Ultimately, it's your choice, right? But this individual, being very conniving, being very sneaky, and being a smart individual, he was smart. He was about to do exactly what he was doing. Chooses to live this persona and play this off. This vato split his tongue here. That's he was doing all that. He fucking tried to carve 666 in his face, only he did it backwards and it was 999. He took razor blades and scarred his whole face, tattooed several letters and things on his face that people couldn't understand. So I'm sure he couldn't. But this is what he chose to do. Now, I'm not disrespecting this man because at no point in time would I want to be sold up with them. So if we were sold up, someone's getting whacked that night. Hey, Sasuke, I'm going to make my next move my best move. Fuck that, right? And in that fashion, because this vault was dangerous and different. But this is the route he went to try to show that, it wasn't his fault. Now, again, he started to blame the administration. He started to blame them and actually filed a lawsuit for $25.8 million saying that it's their fault that they let him out. That's why he killed 4 people. If they had never let him out early, Sasuke, then 4 people would still be alive. Of course, that was a frivolous lawsuit. It didn't work out in his favor, and the case was swept under the rug and thrown out. So now we're asking ourselves, so what happened with this? Well, I'm going to tell you what happened. He ended up going to court. There were several outbursts. His family was fucking told to get out of the courtroom. They were all going through their changes. His mother was convicted. She was given 10 to 12 years. His sister was involved in the murders and also was involved in beating up his own cousin that was one of his co-conspirators. She broke her arm, broke her leg, beat her face in when she caught up with her in the county jail. So let's get snitches, get stitches, and she handled that business. And she ended up catching a life beef over that, She caught 20-something years in the beginning and turned it into life. Her wiggle was real as well. Now I seen an article where she's trying to change her name into fucking Pegasus or fucking Thesis or some shit, the princess god. She herself also is involved in that Egyptian god shit. I don't know if this is something that was instilled in them when they were young, and maybe they read a book in Fantasyland, and maybe, the oppression in their house that was going on, they were getting beat as kids, they were malnourished, things were happening to them. You can't blame young children, man, for fantasizing and trying to get their mind off of what's actually going on in their household, but to take it to the level that they took it was different. It's tragic. It's different. It's tragic all the way around. Did these kids really have a chance? I don't know. But at the end, man, they grew up to be some vicious adults, right? And in that fashion. But anyways, so Nikko Jenkins, his fucking familia all gets time. His uncle gets time. His prima, she actually fucking told on everyone. She got a little bit of time. He had another sister that was involved. She actually testified against her sister in her murder trial, for which she got out. Her wiggle got real. I don't know what to say about that, but she did her thing. And Nikko ended up getting the brunt of everything. Well, he was guilty, allegedly. But I'm saying, they found him guilty in the court of law. And he ended up catching 450 years, for arms. And he ended up catching death. They gave this man the death penalty. He sits on death row right now. Okay? Now, the reason why his case touched me and I was like, fuck, right? The first thing that caught me was the disfigurement of his face. Who would do that to themselves? Now, I understand a lot of people have a lot of problems, that they can't control. But again, man, this guy was tested by several psychiatrists, several people of a professional nature, right? Actually took him into a room to get at him, and they came out with it was fakery and tomfoolery, right? Word of the day, tomfoolery, right? He was basically faking it to make it that he really wasn't crazy. Yes, he was crazy in the aspect of going out there and killing people, but he has his own reasonings behind that, man. You can't say a person's crazy because they do that. That's just a move he made, you know? Sasuke, what makes him crazy because he kills people makes me crazy because I don't. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I have it because I got a body. But I'm just saying, you know, people have different ways of determining who's crazy and who's not. You know, I think it's crazy to wake up in the morning and lay on your ass all day and not go out there and get some money. To me, that's fucking crazy. Go out there and hustle. Put some hustle behind that muscle. You know, don't just sit there like a lazy fucking baboso and expect people to give you shit. Because I was kidding, that ain't gonna happen, Captain. Not in this day and age. But anyways, to me, that's my determination of crazy, and none of that shit matters. We're getting back to Nikko. And what I'm saying with Nikko Jenkins is he actually went in the room with all these professionals and they deemed him sane. So that way they could avoid sending him to a mental hospital and give him death penalty plus 450 years. Okay. Now, a lot of things have changed in Nikko's life recently. He's sitting there on death row and now he's actually getting remarried. You know, the first chick that he married, that didn't work out. They actually got to spend only 1 month together physically, period, the whole time of their marriage. And she was truly dedicated to this vato. In the end, it just didn't work out. I guess she needed more tiempo with them and he couldn't provide that because he was too busy killing people. So, now there's a chick, a 46-year-old chick from Texas that's in love with this vato. Now ask yourself, what makes these women or even men, you know, in some crazy capacity, fucking fall in love with these convicted killers? Maybe they see something that we don't. You know, maybe they feel sorry for them, or maybe they just like the attention and they can't get attention from no one else. Well, guess what, lady? I'm here to tell you, go to a paisa camp where they're over there working. Sasuke, they'll give you all the attention you need, especially on a Friday, Sasuke, when they just got paid. It's going down. Cazadores and Presidente. Oh my. Y bucanas and pineapple juice. Sasuke, my one time. So, you can get all the attention they want, but they choose to get the attention from these convicted killers. Same thing happened with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, man. He was getting letras and everything. And all these other killers. Ted Bundy, Sasuke, all hyenas wanted him. He wanted to choke those bitches out. You know what I mean? He was crazy. He was different. But again, this chick, man, they're planning on getting married. And I guess they're going to live a happy life. Him on death row and her in Texas. And, you know what I mean? She better get her fucking vibrator ready. Anyways, back to Nikko. I think it's just a crazy and a tragic story. And it happened in Middle America. Now, you hear about fucking cases in New York City. You hear about cases in LA, Frisco, because these are the big cities. Seattle, you know, they're the bigger cities in America. And of course, Chicago. The focus is on these cities and all the crime that happens. But little old Omaha, Nebraska, man, it goes downtown. It went down. And like I said, this family is very notorious. You think about it. His sister's sitting there doing life for the crimes that she committed. And she smiles, she ain't tripping, she shows no remorse. Nikko Jenkins had never once uttered a word of remorse or even cared about the victims. He said they needed to die so that way the Egyptian god was pleased. He's also saying that more people need to go. So Sasuke, he's on walk alone status. Of course, he's on death row, so he's going to be celled up alone. But would you want to be celled up with this individual? The vato maims himself, literally rips his face open, his body, and tattoos 999 on his face and all kinds of other various tattoos. Sasuke, I was tripping out about that bang bang right here. I was like, oh wait, and in that fashion, he's seen the future. But he's just a trip, you know, and I thought it was a trippy story, and I thought it was a tragic story because think about it. Right now, as we're speaking, as I'm speaking and you're listening, there's other kids and there's other individuals that are going through some of the same hardships right now. There's kids that are growing up in households where all they see is crime, all they see is gangbanging, all they see is familia going in and out of prison, man. And what do you expect them to do? Oh, Sasuke, he's gonna be a scientist when he grows up. Nah, he's gonna be he's gonna fucking dissect a motherfucker and rip their heart out and eat it and sacrifice it to the god. This is what's going to happen, man, if we don't get our mind right and teach our youth, teach our kids, you know, stop showing them the wrong way of life and start showing them some right shit, you know. Maybe they could have prevented Nikko from going this route. And in the end of the day, man, you know, Nikko's exactly where he should be. This man was out there hurting people. Okay, you can't just get away with that. Now, do I condone giving people life sentences and fucking death penalty and all that? I don't agree with none of that shit. You know, if you're a weirdo, you should get the death penalty right off the top. You shouldn't even make it into the back of the cop car. You should have already been gone. But that's a different story for a different day and a different spiel, which we'll get into one day. But as far as Nikko Jenkins goes, that's his story, man. It's a tragic story for all involved. Condolences to the families that lost a loved one because of this fucking Vato's weirdo ways and his ways of thinking. But at the end of the day, man, they're his ways of thinking. He did what he did. And it's that's why, man, mental health in America and even just watching, keeping your awareness up and what's going on around you, man, can make you last forever. Like fucking Keith Sweat says, man, it can make you live another day. You know, you could be living for the love of you like fucking the Isley brothers. Because I'm telling you right now, if you get caught slipping, Vatos like Nikko Jenkins with a fucked up ass tongue, man. Bad boys, bad. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when he's coming for you? You know what I mean? You got to stay out the way, man. Anyways, at the end of the day, it's a crazy story. I want you guys to Google it, look it up, listen to his confession, man, and trip out. Anyways, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, man, it's all about there being aware, man. Hustling for your family. Do it for yourself because ain't no one going to do it for you. Hit that like and subscribe, please, if you like this. Leave a comment. If you don't, you can hit that thumbs down. Heavy as the head that wears the crown, man. We're going to continue to struggle and do this. I'm going to put more stories out like this because I think they're bangers. Bang, bang. And we're going to continue to push right here in Gunners Collective. You know what it is. Fucking Nikko was crazy. Bang, bang.